Hi, everyone. Welcome to Carla's channel, Heart to Heart Inspiration. I am just going to do a sound check. If you all are in the chat and you can hear me, just put in yes, I can hear you. Just put a yes if you can hear me, please. Just testing my audio. If you can hear me. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the channel. I am going live on YouTube. So if you can hear me, put yes in the chat. I hope you can. Hope you can hear me. All right. So today we have a great show coming up today on this podcast. This actually starts season 2, episode 1. So we closed out season 1 with October Awareness Month and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so now we are going to be switching gears a little bit. And we are going to be talking about doulas. And give me one quick second. I do just want to check in. I am getting a DM that my audio is not heard. Let's see. One quick second. Okay, and I am checking the captions. If the captions can be seen. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. So let me know in the chat if you can see the captions or not. I can't see them on my end, but I may be missing them. Okay. So, hi. Okay. But can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Perfect. So, I'm so sorry about the captions. I'm not sure where the captions can be found. And so I will definitely have to work on that for sure. I don't know where the captions are. If anyone knows where the captions are, please put it in the chat so we can know where that is. I thought for YouTube that it would come up on your personal setting for captions. Let's see here. I don't see it. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. I'm wondering if the captionings come in your personal settings for YouTube. But if not, I'll definitely work on it for the next one, and I'll get some captions added and then upload a new video with the captions. Okay, so this season 2, we are starting a new series, and this series is going to be about doulas. Let's doula this. So I'm not sure if many of you have heard of the word doula. If you have ever heard of the word doula or know what a doula is, put a yes in the chat. Say, yes, I know what doula is or what it means. Put a yes in the chat. That'll be great. And then we can go from there. I know for myself personally, I had heard of the term doula, and I had gotten it mixed up with the word midwife. And so I was using that simultaneously, synonymously, doula and midwife. But I learned that there are 2 different roles. So a doula's role is different from a midwife's role. And what a doula is a support person. So Ryan says, yes, she knows what a doula means. All right, Ryan. And so a doula, but let me back up. There are many different types of doulas. So these days there are different types of doulas. But the doula we're talking about today is a birth doula or postpartum doula, or they may also be called full spectrum doula. So what a birth doula is someone who supports the person during their pregnancy, and they help them with education, affirmation. They'll teach them and educate them on different birthing options, their birthing plans. If they want a home birth, hospital birth, a water birth, there's so many different types of plans and things to consider. And a birth doula helps you with that. And they also help your significant other or your partner, your spouse, your friend, your family member, whoever is your support person to help support you during the pregnancy. So they also help encourage them and educate them as well. One of the big things that they do is during labor support. They help with different positions and things like that. So if you are someone who is pregnant or thinking about becoming pregnant, or you have a friend, a family member who's pregnant already, and you want to know how to support them, then this podcast episode is for you. All righty. So I am going to see if I can share my screen here. And let's see if we can get to it. 1 second. Here we go. All right. All right. You all can see my screen? Put a yes in the chat if you can see my screen. All right. So the miracle of life, we are talking about Let's Doula this and your pregnancy diary. So pregnancy doesn't start just from the moment of conception. Pregnancy actually starts the moment of preconception. Before you have even become pregnant, that's when your story of conception begins. Because there are certain things that is suggested that you start to do while you are contemplating, planning, things like that. So what we want to talk about is when you are planning, preparing to become a mother, some things that you should do. Like, have you ever heard of that you should start taking prenatal vitamins? If you ever heard that, put a 1 in the chat. I've heard of starting taking prenatal vitamins. Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever heard that. Have you ever heard that before? And then also, maybe you've heard that you should start taking folic acid. There's some studies that show that folic acid helps to prevent birth defects, but you have to have a certain buildup in your body beforehand, before getting pregnant. So if you've ever heard of that, or if you haven't heard of that, put a 2 in the chat if you've never heard of that, of taking prenatal vitamins or folic acid before you get pregnant. Put a 2 in the chat if you haven't heard of that. Some of the other things that some studies say that's good to do before you get pregnant is to stop with certain types of ingredients in your facial creams, your hair products, things like that, things that contain carcinogens or parabens. So look it up, do some research on that. So those are some things that some studies say that you should stop doing before you get pregnant. So look at the different types of environments that you should be around, whether that's parabens, carcinogens, whether it's certain things in the air, certain plastics, BPA products that you want to be sure is safe for use before pregnancy starts, because you want to get your body ready. You want to get your body ready for pregnancy. And there's a lot more, and we're going to get into that. And then let's say now you are pregnant and now you're like, oh my goodness, what do I do? So there's things that you can do to make sure that you are getting enough nutrition, vitamins, that you are starting to work on your birthing plan and things like that. So, and that's what I'm here for. And we're going to walk through that. Let's see. All right. So, what is a doula and where did it begin? So, a doula history, origin of doulas, as you can see on the screen, doulas provide labor support to women undergoing childbirth. And this term doula was developed way back, probably, it says on the slide in the 1960s. That probably was the official term doula. But we know way back in the day, right? Our great grandmothers, they had labor support, right? They just were not called doulas. They may have been called midwives, or they may have been called nurses. They could have been called a number of things. But support has been around for ages for pregnant women. And it's gaining popularity. Believe it or not, it's gaining popularity. There used to be a time where people would deliver at home, right? People would deliver at home. People would have water births and things like that. Some people didn't even go to the doctor. But of course, now with more modern technology, modern ages, modern evidence-based information, we know that early prenatal care is suggested and recommended for better outcomes, meaning that it is recommended because it states that you are more likely to have a healthier pregnancy, easier labor, things like that, a healthier baby. So those are some of the reasons why, right? You need that support to help you understand, first of all, what you're supposed to be doing. And that can be overwhelming sometimes. If there's anybody on the line who has ever been pregnant and you know that sometimes it can be overwhelming, just thinking about your pregnancy, thinking about what's coming up, your birth, your labor, what kind of mother you're going to be, what kind of family this baby is going to be born into, put a 3 in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. And so another thing that we want to talk about is the doula current state. So the current state during COVID, some hospitals restricted people in the birthing rooms in the hospitals, right? Everyone remembers that. There were some restrictions. I remember hearing real life stories of people having to deliver alone. Their husbands, partners couldn't even go into the room. I also remember that there were live accounts of people just being given C-sections during COVID because that hospital did not want the bodily fluids splashing out, and they were giving women C-sections. Not because they needed them, but because this was their way of controlling the bodily fluids being spread during COVID. And so because of this, some people say this has sparked a wide spark in doulas being used in home births and doulas. And I would even also say in midwives. And so because of that, doulas are on the rise. When I tell you doulas are on the rise, I mean it. And this is an exciting time in womanhood to be pregnant, to be a parent, because now you have more tools to be empowered. And so doula current state, some things arise out of COVID because people not being able to be present, and then people opting to do home births, water births, having a midwife, having a doula, and it has just sparked this movement, which is great. So one of the things that you can do to get a doula is you can send an email. If you want to know more about doulas and you don't even know where to start, you can send an email to info@hearttoheartdoulas.com. That's info@hearttoheartdoulas.com. I'll put it in the chat so everyone can see it. Yes. So for more information, info@hearttoheartdoulas.com. And so there's this great movement that's going on about doulas and advocating for doulas. And there are some states that are even now reimbursing for doulas. So in the state of Nevada, they are now reimbursing for doula services. They are reimbursing up to about $1,000, but there's some caveats to that. It depends on what insurance you have and things like that. So the doula reimbursement rate can range from about $200 to $1,000. And again, that depends on the type of payer that you have. Private payer insurance, whether it's a private insurance company like Molina Health, or whether it's Medicaid, different insurances may offer different types of reimbursement. So it's important for you to ask your insurance carrier, do they provide reimbursement for doulas, for birth doulas? And that reimbursement can include different things. For some states or some employers are now reimbursing for doula services as well. So if you are employed, you may want to ask your job if they offer reimbursement for doula services. And that doula service may have different requirements. So some jobs may say that your doula has to be certified by a certain certifying body or agency. And there are many out there, many doula agencies out there. And so you may have to do some research on the front end, right, before you can get that. But you can definitely ask your employer, do they offer reimbursement? Some employers may say, or some states' guidelines may say they have to be certified by a certain agency. They also may say that you can only get a certain amount. They may say you can have doula services before you're pregnant, before you deliver, and up to 8 weeks after you deliver. They all have different types of services and benefits connected to them. So you'll have to ask your provider, your insurance provider, or your employer, what do they cover? Okay. But it's an exciting time. And if you need help with trying to navigate your state site or your benefits on what to ask, please send us an email at info@hearttoheartdoulas.com. I did put it in the chat. Again, very exciting. So what you want to do is you want to enjoy every single minute, every single moment of this stage. Again, whether you are planning to become pregnant, or whether you are pregnant now, or whether you are supporting someone who's pregnant. It could be your friend, your wife, your best friend. You may be a grandparent. You may be a dad, a granddad, an uncle, or an aunt. It doesn't matter. You may be a caregiver also. But what you want to do is provide some support, and you want to know, what can I do? What do I do? This may be someone who hasn't, you may be a caregiver or a friend of someone, and you may have not had a baby for years, some years now. And you're like, things have changed. I don't know what to do. But some things still remain the same. You want to provide a listening ear. You want to be supportive and non-judgmental. And you want to provide evidence-based care. And we're here to help you with that. So if you need help with that, again, send an email to info@hearttoheartdoulas.com, and we can help you with that, because it's not just for women. This impacts the whole family. It takes a village, right? It takes a village to have support during your pregnancy. One of the things that I learned during our season 1, during our domestic violence episodes and information, was that homicide during pregnancy is the number one killer among pregnant women. It's homicide from intimate partners. So what this tells me is that there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress during pregnancy. It could be an abusive relationship before the pregnancy, or it could have been sparked during the pregnancy. But whatever the case may be, this is a big concern. And this is where support people come into play with providing some safe affirmations, helping with safety concerns, resources. We learned about a resource for people, and that's called Wings, and they are located in Chicago, and you can look them up. And they help women in domestic violence situations, and they can help you with different plans, safety rooms, escape plans, different things like that. So education, they can help pregnant people with all of that. Okay, so I put that in the chat so that you'll have it. And another thing that we learned about during season 1 is about self-care. Women, when you are pregnant, it can be very overwhelming. Or support people, it can be overwhelming for them. I mean, you have to keep up with your prenatal appointments. You have to keep up with your regular job. You have to eat right. You have to drink right. There's so many things you have to think about, right? You have to plan. You may need a bigger place, or you may be trying to figure out, do you even have FMLA to take? Or do you have to work all the way up to your pregnancy? Do I qualify for WIC? Do I qualify for other resources? There's so many things to think about. And that's why it takes a village. If you have a village, that's great. But that village may need education and support. And you may need education and support. And you can get that. We can help you with that at info@hearttoheartdoulas.com, because I am passionate about birth, and you're going to be a birth boss after this. And support people, you are going to be their birth boss to help them through their journey. And one of the last things that we want to talk about is take some time for yourself. Do your research, and don't feel bad if your idea of birthing like a boss is not everybody else's version or idea of birthing like a boss. You are the boss of your birth. And we can talk about how to put together a birth plan, your affirmations, your pain plan, and the hospitals, the providers. All of those things are important because you want to be sure that you're getting what you want for your birth and to birth like a boss. So we want you to also feel empowered. The more education you have, the more you can advocate for yourself. And that's what a doula does. They help provide education, resources to help you birth the way you want to birth, okay, and be the boss of your birth. So those are some of the things that you want to look forward to. And our support group, we want you to be prepared as well. So we are down to about our last couple of minutes, and that went by fast. One other thing I want to talk about that is near and dear to my heart is Roe versus Wade. As you all know, Roe versus Wade was overturned. What does that mean? What does that mean for us as women? That means that some of our basic rights have been taken away. They have been taken away. So if you find yourself in a certain predicament and you want to get help, you may not know where to go, or you may not get the help because that state that have imposed certain sanctions, laws against people who may try to help you, they may also have laws that say they're going to put them in jail, they can get arrested, things like that. So it could be a very scary time for people. So I want you to know that you can still be empowered. And if you need help with understanding your next direction, your next path, what's available to you, send us an email, because these are troubling times. I remember receiving information from people that are just scared right now. They don't know where to turn to. They don't know what to do. And then there's a stigma. There's a stigma about being pregnant and you don't have the baby's father in your life, or if you're a part of the LGBTQIA community, there's a stigma, right? There's a stigma if you are a born woman, but you are now living as a man and you want to give birth, then that's something that you have to consider because there's stigma around that, right? Some states do not allow that, any type of LGBTQIA or gender affirming surgeries or things like that. And so if you have questions about that, please let us know. Our goal is to let go of the biases, be non judgmental, and help those who are seeking help. And thank you so much, Ryan. Ryan says, thank you for this helpful advice. Siobhan, thank you for the hearts. And I do see we had some other people on the line, but even if you replay this, please pass along the information. Our goal is to make sure everyone has a healthy pregnancy, that you're empowered with information. And I just want to throw some statistics out there. Did you know that Black women have the highest mortality rate in the US? Mortality means death, maternal mortality. That means deaths from pregnancy. From pregnancy, right after pregnancy, during pregnancy, Black women have the highest rates of that. Okay. And so while we're talking to everyone, and even some states in the US are starting to see a rise in births and mortality among white women, among other races as well. As big as the United States is, we are leading with more maternity mortality rates. And so that means it takes a village. It takes all of us continuously learning about pregnancy, ways to educate ourselves and the person that's pregnant, ways to support our pregnant partners, friends, family members, caregivers. And another thing is that we also at Heart to Heart Doulas provide infant CPR training. So one of the things, and you may not believe is true because you may not have experienced it, it's important to know things can happen, especially if you're doing a home birth, a water birth, or if you're at home with your baby after delivering in the hospital, if your baby is at the caregiver's house, daycare, with grandparents. Everyone should know infant CPR who's coming in contact with your precious baby. So we do offer infant CPR as well, but we don't just stop there. We offer CPR services for everyone in your life, even if you're a business owner, even if you have a church family. We want everyone to be able to save lives, because it can be you, mama, it could be you, grandma, grandpa, husband, that needs CPR. So no matter where you go, we want you to know and be empowered that you have the power to help save lives. And the most important life right now is the one you're carrying in your tummy, or the one you're supporting. So with that being said, I just want to invite you all to like this video and follow me and subscribe to the video. We're going to have guests on to talk about the role of doulas or pregnancy, share birth stories. Even if you've dealt with loss or dealing with infertility, we want you to know that your story is important. You are important. And this is empowerment. We are empowering women, families, caregivers. We are empowering each other because it truly takes a village. So please like and follow. You can catch me right here on YouTube. You can also catch me on Facebook at Carla's channel, Heart to Heart Inspiration. I'm also on Spotify, so the podcast will be uploaded to Spotify. And also, you can catch me on Instagram. And if you want to be a guest on the show, please send me an email at info@hearttoheartdoulas.com. You can send an email as well there, because we all have stories to share, and our stories help empower one another to be bolder, more courageous, and more informed. Thank you all. Good night. Thanks for joining.